Okay, welcome to Weekday Somatics 15, I think this is. This is the blurry, washed out version. Let's find if possible, a seated posture that we think we could occupy, inhabit, explore reasonably comfortably for the next 30 minutes or so. And today we're going to continue from where we left off yesterday. So if you weren't, I think everybody who's here live was here yesterday. If not, we'll do a brief review. So let's start, if it's comfortable for you, with eyes closed. I like to have eyes closed a lot of the time for these explorations because it allows me to more easily tune into the somatic experience. I notice that with eyes open, I have a habit of moving my eyes and focusing the eyes unconsciously, and that introduces a lot more noise into the nervous system. So with the eyes closed, I find it much easier to tune into the somatic experience without all of that extra noise. You will find whatever you find, so you make the choice that's appropriate for you. Eyes open, eyes closed. And I've suggested that we explore sitting, but as usual, if sitting is not appropriate for you today, then don't do that. You certainly can explore part of what I'm intending today, at the very least, if you are lying on your back. So that is an option if you're finding sitting upright to be too strenuous, or if during this exploration you find that it's becoming strenuous, then that's an option you could explore. In general, I suggest that we try to find a posture that we can just be still in, fairly still in, for the duration of the exploration. But of course, I never want to encourage anybody to strain. So don't make the mistake of thinking, oh, now I'm committed to this, and come hell or high water, I've got to just endure it, because that's not very gentle or kind. Here's an idea. What if we were to treat ourselves as we might treat a baby, with that level of gentleness and kindness? If we were to take off all of the expectations that we have for ourselves, our performance, maybe we can start to just notice how we've turned life into a performance. And maybe we can just explore a new possibility, which is to be open, to be curious, without the expectation, without a rigid goal or destination in mind, without trying so hard to keep up appearances. So whatever position or posture we're in, we can tune into the support that is literally here. So we are literally supported. The body is literally supported. We can actually recognize that. We can tune in to where the body is in contact with that support underneath it. So if we're sitting, we can notice that perhaps in the thighs and the buttocks. We might start to notice how that support, we can actually feel that support. If we're really sensitive, we can start to notice that that support is not just under the thighs and buttocks, but all the way up the spine. We can actually sense that because each vertebrae is aligned atop the one beneath it, all the way down to the floor or the chair or the bed or whatever it is we're on. Of course, if you're lying down, then you can translate this into your own experience. So you might notice the back on the floor or the bed. But notice that the body is in contact with the support, and notice if you're making any unnecessary effort, resisting that support, working against that support, straining, and can you soften and release and receive that support? What would it be like to actually experience the support that's here? What would it be like to experience this moment as effortless, to really have an actual experience of that, not a conceptual experience, not something that we project into the future of how nice that will be when I can experience this fantasy of effortlessness, but can we actually tune into the reality of support and surrender fully to that support so that we receive that and experience that effortlessness that's present here and now? This is a real possibility. Let's just open to that possibility. And then notice, perhaps, we'll just notice whatever arises in that. So one possibility, something I notice in my experience is that I notice sensation that my mind labels as strenuous, or my mind labels as scary, or my mind labels as difficult or uncomfortable, painful or frustrating. And let's all just notice whatever arises and see if it's possible for us, because it is possible. But let's really find that out directly for ourselves, this possibility of not indulging the habitual reaction, the way in which we try to get it right, the false urgency. Could we just remain still and restful for a moment? Whatever the conditioned mind says, whatever it tries to suggest that we need to do, could we just remain just for another moment, just for this moment? Can we give ourselves permission just to remain still and to explore the reality of the direct experience without the overlay, Or let me say that differently. Without mistakenly leaping to the conclusion that the overlay is the truth. So even if the overlay is there, even if the overlay that's screaming, this is unbearable, I can't do it, it's too hard, I'll never get it right, I'm a failure. Whatever the resistance appears like, whatever the fear appears like, can we just remain restfully still, not indulging our habitual reactivity just for this moment, just to find out? And we can start to distinguish between effortful attempts to fix, adjust, get comfortable, and the rest of that. We can start to differentiate between that and the softening, surrender, release that allows us to become more intimately familiar with our direct experience. Maybe we can start to really get clear for ourselves in a real practical way about this distinction, so we can start to actually notice that the overlay of conditioned thought, memory, reactivity is not the same as the direct reality. It was an imposter. All along, we mistook it for reality. We thought every time we experienced that sensation with that memory and that image and that thought, that label, that idea, that fear, we thought that that was telling us the truth. But if we are willing just to be restfully still, we can start to get really clear on the distinction, and we can start to see that the direct experience is open. We don't know what this is. This is fresh here and now. And this holds this rich possibility. A rich possibility of what, maybe the mind says, of what. And if we can see that striving, grasping, habit of mind trying to figure it out, trying to get it, trying to secure something, then we can just let go even more. Regardless of what it is that we think, regardless of what we have believed is reality. It was a painful so-called reality. So why should we even hold on to that? Why should we cling to our misery? Let's just be willing in this moment to surrender to the possibility that everything that I have thought, everything that I have believed is inadequate. So if it is something that you can do, well, let's all explore the possibility now of, we're going to bring the arms together so that they touch in front of the body, in front of the chest. So this is like we did yesterday. And if you find it helpful to have eyes open to do so, that's fine, but see that you can open the eyes smoothly and gently, transitioning, if you have eyes closed, from eyes closed to eyes open as smoothly as possible. And we're going to bring the arms together, and I'm going to turn slightly to the side just so that I'm not blocking I'm not sure if my arms in front block the sound to the mic, so I'm just going to turn so that hopefully that doesn't block the sound. The hands, the palms of the hands will be facing toward the face.
Jesse and Ryan are waiting to get in.
I see. Okay. Okay. To those who are just joining, I apologize about the waiting room. That was a new surprise from Zoom today. So we're resuming, starting where we left off yesterday. We're bringing the arms in front of the body, in front of the chest, the torso, the head, so that the pinky side of the hands are touching, pinky sides. And if possible, the elbows are also touching. So there's a fairly continuous contact all along that side of the hand and forearms. Obviously, there will be some gaps because of the shape of the arms and hands, but to the degree possible, explore allowing them to touch in this way. Now, you may find that you don't know how to do this without it being strenuous, and if so, then don't strain. So don't try to pull the arms together. Just allow them to release toward one another to the best of your ability. And if this becomes strenuous, then rest. And then come back to it and explore how you can soften even more. Now this posture with the hands in front of the face like this, I find is really rich for exploration. So we're going to, especially when the elbows come toward one another and are touching, just going to mute some. There we go. Okay. When they're touching, then what happens, and you can start to become aware of this, is that there is a relationship of the position of the arms and hands relative to the torso that is fixed in some ways that wouldn't normally be the case. Normally we would be more free to move the shoulders forward and backward, but here the shoulder blades are spreading. And what this offers us is a possibility of exploring how it is that we habitually move parts of our torso. Remember that if this becomes strenuous, then rest. So one thing that we'll start with is we'll explore simply lowering the hands in the, if we're sitting. If you're lying down, a similar movement, but you'll have to translate that to your position. But we'll lower the hands, keeping the shoulders, rather the elbows, as close together as possible. So keeping the hands and the forearms together. We're going to lower and then raise the hands slowly together. And as we do this, I would like us all to be aware of where it is that we are straining, where we're fatiguing, and see, do we need to make that effort? So can we allow the upper arms to come to rest against the torso while keeping the forearms and hands together in this way? Can we allow the shoulder blades to spread without strain? Can we just allow the upper back to remain, not even to remain, but to become supple, to become soft? Can we start to feel where this movement is coming from? And where we're feeling other sensations that signal to us perhaps where we're making unnecessary effort that we can soften and release. Now, remember, don't strain to pull the forearms and the elbows together. It's just a direction. They'll start to come more to rest together in this way. So in order for that to happen, we have to be willing to allow for that possibility. So we have to explore where it is that we're making the unnecessary effort. You might notice perhaps some tension and strain in the front of the shoulders, in the chest, perhaps. How much of that can you soften? What about in the face? Does the face need to be squeezing in order to do this movement? What about the tongue? Does the tongue need to be moving around or pressing anywhere in the mouth in order to do this movement? Just slowly lowering and raising the hands, keeping the forearms together in front of the body. And then slowly rest the arms in the lap. And notice any habit that wants to assert itself of trying to adjust, trying to get into a more familiar position. And don't indulge that. Just rest here. Remain open to the sensations as they are. Notice the new sensation. Notice how the mind labels that. Notice how it brings images and thoughts, trying to tell you what this sensation means, trying to tell you what you need to do to fix it, to get it right. And just observe that and surrender to this posture without trying to fix it. So again, now let's bring the arms slowly together in front of the body in the same posture. Remember, don't strain. So if this is strenuous, then just rest or make it less strenuous. Now let's notice that what other possibilities are available to us here? A lot in terms of movement. So let's explore some of those. Can we move the hands, keeping the sides of the hands together and the sides of the forearms together? Can we move the hands vertically? Is that a possibility? So let's explore that. So we're going to see if we can bring the hands up and then down, imagining they're like it's like an elevator that's just moving vertically up and down. So not forward or backward or side to side, but just up and down. Now this might be a very small movement. But we're just exploring slowly moving up and down. And of course we could do this mechanically, and then we would experience all kinds of unpleasantness. So rather than doing it mechanically, what I'm suggesting is let's do it with awareness. So notice the sensation, and then notice your habit. Now, if you're still able to do this, we're going to continue. If you need to rest, then rest. And as you're exploring moving the hands up and down while keeping the forearms and the sides of the hands together, notice what you're doing in the neck. Is the neck moving? Can you allow the neck to rest, to remain restful and still, not rigid, but restfully still? So we're noticing the neck, and then can we also notice what the eyes are doing as we're making this movement slowly over and over? Do the eyes habitually try to follow the hands? Can we allow the eyes and the neck to remain restfully still as we're doing this movement? Now, if you're able to do so, then continue this movement. And when you next bring the hands up, bring them to the maximum upness that you can without strain. And then from here, as slowly as possible, while just allowing your torso, your neck, your eyes to remain resting, slowly, slowly, slowly allow the hands to sink downward, keeping the forearms together, aware of all of the sensations and how low can they go while allowing the forearms to stay together, allowing the neck and the eyes to remain at rest so that you're not lowering the head. And then slowly lower the arms to the lap. And let's just take a moment here again to experience whatever it is that's happening presently in stillness without indulging the habits of adjusting to our usual posture. Just observe what the mechanical mind offers up, all of its worries, anxieties, fears, all of its proposals for all of the effort required to get it right. Notice how if you simply rest without indulging those habits and you allow these new sensations to open up, what's possible. Continue to remain aware of the compulsions to adjust, to reassert the usual posture. The guide that I like to use is this. I ask myself this question: do I need to make effort in order to do the thing that I think I want to do? And if it requires effort, or if I'm not totally clear yet on whether it requires effort, I just remain still and allow the experience to reveal its true nature to me. Is its true nature one of stillness, or is its true nature one of agitation? At first, I can't tell the difference between stillness and agitation, but if I follow this guide, then I get clearer on that difference, so that I start to more readily recognize what is agitation and what is stillness. So even if my brain is telling me this is strenuous, this is hard, I simply ask this question: does it require effort to change this, to do whatever it is that my habit tells me I should do? Does that require effort? And rather than just consulting the mind to give me the answer, I look to my actual experience. What is actually true? If I'm not clear on that, then I continue to rest without moving until it becomes clear whether I am resting in stillness or I'm straining. If it becomes clear that I'm straining, then I can release the strain. The release of the strain is different than adjusting. Releasing strain is different than trying to get comfortable. And I find that this simple guideline is very helpful in clearing that up. So we're going to begin to transition. If you have your eyes closed, we'll transition to eyes open. Even if your eyes are open, we'll be transitioning into a more externally focused state. And let's do this without suddenness, without startling ourselves, without shocking ourselves. Let's do this as smoothly as possible so that we can remain aware of this thread of stillness and allow ourselves to carry that through, that awareness through into our day, so that it informs our habits instead of our habits shaping us. So if the eyes are closed, then explore opening the eyes as smoothly and slowly as possible with awareness, and see if you might even be able to find pleasure in that experience, rather than it being just some thing to do to get from one state to another. Can we experience this process that's happening presently? And I am going to end the recording in just a moment. For those who are here live, take your time. There's no rush. For those who are watching the recording, take your time. There's no rush. There's no rush for any of us. If for those who are watching the recording, I'm going to end it now. Thanks for joining.